Namaskar and welcome to News Connect, where we bring you news from India and the world and keep you connected. Let's begin with the headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi addresses the nation in Mann Ki Baat and hails the success of India's vaccine program, and he says that it displays the capability of the country, manifests the might of our collective endeavor. He salutes the health workers for their tireless efforts and resolve in the service of humanity through innovation and shared determination. In Mann Ki Baat, the Prime Minister talks about drone technology, and he says it's capturing people's imagination because of its diverse utility. He praises India for becoming one of the first countries in the world preparing digital records from land in its villages with the help of drones, and says that the new drone policy brought by the country has attracted foreign and domestic investors and drone startups. On the occasion of United Nations Day, the Prime Minister remembers India's historic role in drafting the UN Charter and Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Says that women power of India has played a major role in increasing the influence and strength of the United Nations. Union Health Minister Amit Shah addresses a rally in Jammu. He slams the previous governments for injustice in Jammu division, and he says that several initiatives taken by the Modi government to grant rights to several communities who were denied such rights during the last 70 years. He emphasizes that the Modi government is determined to put an end to terrorism. LG Jammu Kashmir Manoj Sinha terms the decisions taken on August 5, 2019 by the Union government as historic, and says that the decision led to a new era of development of those sections of the people who were discriminated for years together. 20,000 unemployed youth given financial assistance to set up their own units, Jammu Metro, to be started from next year. And in cricket, arch rivals India and Pakistan to clash in the T20 World Cup in Dubai today. Ahead of the match, Captain Virat Kohli expresses confidence of a good performance. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in his Mann Ki Baat radio address, highlighted the role of drones, saying that the government has redefined drone technology, not limiting it to the army combat. Along with infrastructure, India is now utilizing this technology for agriculture and COVID vaccination supply.
Modern technology is playing a significant role in ensuring building of a new India. In the series, drones are opening up an array of opportunities for the countrymen. Speaking about this new technology during his Mann Ki Baat address, the Prime Minister said that it is because of the help of drones that India has become one of the first countries in the world which is preparing digital records of lands in its villages. He added that drones are also being helpful in spraying nano urea in the fields and undertaking COVID vaccine campaign. PM Modi expressed hope that in future, drones will also be helpful in emergency or monitoring law and order and other development related works.
भारत दुनिया के उन पहले देशों में से हैं जो ड्रोन की मदद से अपने गांव में जमीन के डिजिटल रिकॉर्ड तैयार कर रहा है। भारत ड्रोन का इस्तेमाल ट्रांसपोर्टेशन के लिए करने पर बहुत व्यापक तरीके से काम कर रहा है, चाहे गांव में खेतीबाड़ी हो या घर पर सामान की डिलीवरी हो, आपातकाल में मदद पहुंचानी हो या कानून व्यवस्था की निगरानी हो। बहुत समय नहीं है जब हम देखेंगे कि ड्रोन हमारी इन सब जरूरतों के लिए तैनात होंगे।
Referring to new drone policy, the Prime Minister said it has been formulated according to the present and future prospects related to drones. He added that this will make lives of citizens hassle-free.
इस साल 25 अगस्त को देश एक नई ड्रोन नीति लेकर आया। ये नीति ड्रोन से जुड़ी वर्तमान और भविष्य की संभावनाओं के हिसाब से बनाई गई है। इसमें अब न बहुत सारे फॉर्म्स के चक्कर में पड़ना होगा, नहीं पहले जितनी फीस देनी पड़ेगी। मुझे आपको बताते हुए खुशी हो रही है कि नई ड्रोन पॉलिसी आने के बाद कई ड्रोन स्टार्टअप्स में विदेशी और देशी निवेशकों ने निवेश किया है। कई कंपनियां मैन्युफैक्चरिंग यूनिट्स भी लगा रही हैं। आर्मी, नेवी और एयरफोर्स ने भारतीय ड्रोन कंपनियों को 500 करोड़ रुपए से ज्यादा के ऑर्डर भी दिए हैं।
Highlighting how a young student saves the lives of fishermen with the help of his drone, PM Modi urged the youth of the country to certainly think about taking advantage of the opportunities created after the drone policy and come forward. He assured all possible support from the government. Bureau Report, DD India.
And more news from the Prime Minister's radio address. Prime Minister Narendra Modi discussed the essential role of women in all walks of life. On the occasion of United Nations Day, the Prime Minister highlighted the role of Indian women, ranging from the contribution in the United Nations also to the army and the police as well. So the Prime Minister underlined the work done by India in global interest.
The United Nations Day is being celebrated today. Referring to the contribution of Indian women in enhancing its influence since the formation of the United Nations, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that the women of India have emphasized gender equality in the United Nations from the very beginning. At the same time, the Prime Minister spoke of Vijayalakshmi Pandit being the first woman president of the United Nations General Assembly.
संयुक्त राष्ट्र से जुड़ा एक अनोखा पहलू ये है कि संयुक्त राष्ट्र का प्रभाव और उसकी शक्ति बढ़ाने में भारत की नारी शक्ति ने बड़ी भूमिका निभाई है। 1947-48 में जब यूएन ह्यूमन राइट्स का यूनिवर्सल डिक्लेरेशन तैयार हो रहा था, तो उस डिक्लेरेशन में लिखा जा रहा था ऑल मैन आर क्रिएटेड इक्वल। लेकिन भारत के एक डेलीगेट ने इस पर आपत्ति जताई और फिर यूनिवर्सल डिक्लेरेशन में लिखा गया ऑल ह्यूमन बीइंग्स आर क्रिएटेड इक्वल। ये बात जेंडर इक्वलिटी की भारत की सदियों पुरानी परंपरा के अनुरूप थी। क्या आप जानते हैं कि श्रीमती हंसा मेहता वो डेलीगेट थी जिनकी वजह से ये संभव हो पाया।
India has worked closely with global organizations from time to time to solve the problems of the world. The Prime Minister said that in view of India's initiative, the World Health Organization recently announced the creation of a global center for traditional medicine in India.
भारत ने सदैव विश्व शांति के लिए काम किया है। हमें इस बात का गर्व है कि भारत 1950 के दशक से लगातार संयुक्त राष्ट्र शांति मिशन का हिस्सा रहा है। गरीबी हटाने, क्लाइमेट चेंज और श्रमिकों से संबंधित मुद्दों के समाधान में भी भारत अग्रणी भूमिका निभा रहा है। इसके अलावा योग और आयुष को लोकप्रिय बनाने के लिए भारत WHO यानी वर्ल्ड हेल्थ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के साथ मिलकर काम कर रहा है।
Referring to the increasing number of women personnel in the police and the army, Prime Minister Modi said that today the daughters of the country are performing every duty with utmost devotion, strength and courage. Not only this, the daughters of the country are engaged in the security services from commandos to serving at sensitive locations.
पहले धारणा बन गई थी कि सेना और पुलिस जैसी सेवा केवल पुरुषों के लिए ही होती है, लेकिन आज ऐसा नहीं है। ब्यूरो ऑफ पुलिस रिसर्च एंड डेवलपमेंट के आंकड़े बताते हैं कि पिछले कुछ वर्षों में महिला पुलिस कर्मियों की संख्या डबल हो गई है, दोगुनी हो गई है।
The Prime Minister urged police women to visit schools in their area and motivate girls that are studying there. At the same time, the Prime Minister expressed hope that a new era in the police service would be ushered in with more and more women joining the police services and with women leading them. Bureau Report, DD India.
The United Nations Day is being observed today. It marks the 76th anniversary of the United Nations when in 1945 the UN Charter came into force. UN Day is celebrated every year as an opportunity to amplify the common agenda and reaffirm the purposes and principles of the UN Charter, that have guided nations for the past 76 years. The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said, "The values that have powered the United Nations for the past 76 years, peace, development, human rights and opportunities for all, have no expiry date."
76 years ago, the United Nations was created as a vehicle of hope for a world emerging from the shadow of a catastrophic conflict. Today, the women and men of the UN carry this hope forward around the globe. COVID-19, conflicts, hunger, poverty, and the climate emergency remind us that our world is far from perfect. But they also make clear that solidarity is the only way forward. We need to come together to tackle great challenges and advance the Sustainable Development Goals. By ensuring that every person, everywhere, has access to COVID-19 vaccines sooner rather than later. By securing and upholding the rights and dignity of all people, especially the poorest and most disadvantaged, girls and women and children and young people. By seeking an end to the conflicts that scar our world. By making bold climate commitments to save our planet and living up to them. And by building global governance that is more inclusive, networked and effective, as detailed in my recent report, Our Common Agenda.
Marking UN Day, Prime Minister in his monthly Mann Ki Baat address asserted that India always strove for world peace and said that we are proud of the fact that India has been a part of the UN peacekeeping missions continuously since the 1950s. He added that India is also playing a leading role in addressing issues related to poverty alleviation, climate change and workers.
भारत ने सदैव विश्व शांति के लिए काम किया है। हमें इस बात का गर्व है कि भारत 1950 के दशक से लगातार संयुक्त राष्ट्र शांति मिशन का हिस्सा रहा है। गरीबी हटाने, क्लाइमेट चेंज और श्रमिकों से संबंधित मुद्दों के समाधान में भी भारत अग्रणी भूमिका निभा रहा है। इसके अलावा योग और आयुष को लोकप्रिय बनाने के लिए भारत WHO यानी वर्ल्ड हेल्थ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के साथ मिलकर काम कर रहा है।
The External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar said that on UN Day, as a founding member, India reaffirms its commitment to the United Nations. Dr. Jaishankar reiterated the importance of reformed multilateralism that reflects rebalancing, fairness and multipolarity. And he also said that as a non-permanent member of the UNSC, India will take a principled approach towards contemporary challenges. India will always be a constructive force in enhancing UN's effectiveness and reliability. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate 9 medical colleges in Siddharth Nagar in Uttar Pradesh today. The Prime Minister will also launch the Pradhan Mantri Atmanirbhar Swasth Bharat Yojana in Varanasi. He will also inaugurate various development projects worth more than 5,200 crore rupees in his constituency. The Prime Minister's Atmanirbhar Swasth Bharat Yojana will be one of the largest pan-India schemes for strengthening healthcare infrastructure in the country. It will be in addition to the National Health Mission. The objective of the scheme is to fill critical gaps in public health infrastructure, especially in critical care facilities and primary care in the urban as well as the rural areas. 8 medical colleges have been sanctioned under the centrally sponsored scheme for the establishment of new medical colleges attached with district referral hospitals, and 1 medical college in Jaunpur has been made functional by the state government. The Union Home Minister Amit Shah addressed his first public rally in Jammu after the abrogation of Article 370 in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. The Union Home Minister launched various development projects during this event. So, speaking at that rally, the Home Minister highlighted that the Prime Minister-led central government has established democracy in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. He lashed out at 3 regional parties of the Union Territory, and he asked what their contribution to the development of Jammu and Kashmir has been in the last 70 years.
जम्मू कश्मीर के अंदर ग्रास रूट लेवल की लोकतंत्र को स्थापित करने का काम इस देश के प्रधानमंत्री ने 70 साल तक के 3 परिवार वाले क्या दिया जम्मू कश्मीर को? 87 विधायक, 6 सांसद, यही ना? मोदी जी ने 30,000 लोगों को चुने हुए प्रतिनिधि बनाने का काम किया है। हर गांव के अंदर पंचायत बनी है, हर तहसील के अंदर तहसील पंचायत बनी है, हर जिले के अंदर जिला पंचायत बनी है। अब ये 3 परिवारों की दादागिरी नहीं चलेगी। मैं बताता हूं, मेरा पंच सरपंच भी भारत क्या सरकार का मंत्री बन सकता है, जम्मू कश्मीर का मुख्यमंत्री बन सकता है।
At the rally in Bhagwati Nagar, the Home Minister also said that at least 25,000 jobs have already been provided by the Service Selection Board to the youth of Jammu and Kashmir, and 60,000 offer letters have been handed over.
25,000 सरकारी नौकरियां सर्विस सिलेक्शन बोर्ड द्वारा दे दी गई है। आज के दिन ही 7,000 लोगों को नियुक्ति पत्र अलग अलग प्रकार के देने का काम इसी मंच पर किया गया है। मित्रों, निवेश के चलते 5 लाख नए रोजगार उत्पन्न होने वाले हैं। अब तक जम्मू और कश्मीर मिलकर जम्मू में 7,000, कश्मीर में 5,000 करोड़ का निवेश का भूमि का आवंटन कर दिया गया।
The Home Minister also said that Jammu and Kashmir was the first to reach 100% coverage of the first dose of COVID-19 vaccine. He reiterated Prime Minister Narendra Modi's special affection for Jammu and Kashmir.
सबसे पहले 100% टीका किस राज्य का लग गया बताओ तो? बोलो। जम्मू और कश्मीर का, क्योंकि मोदी जी के दिल में जम्मू और कश्मीर बसा है। मोदी जी के दिल में 100% टीकाकरण हो चुका है और दूसरा टीका भी 50% से ज्यादा जनता का देने का काम हो चुका है। देखते 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 दूसरा टीका भी 100% हो गया।
The Home Minister also remembered Pandit Premnath Dogra, who was a staunch supporter of complete integration of Jammu and Kashmir with India.
एक पवित्र दिन है पंडित प्रेमनाथ डोगरा का, प्रेमनाथ जी का जन्मदिन, और हम सब जम्मू के लोग छोड़िए, पूरे भारत के लोग प्रेमनाथ डोगरा जी को कभी भुला नहीं सकते। ये वो महान शख्सियत थी जिसने प्रजा परिषद की स्थापना कर श्यामा प्रसाद जी के साथ एक देश में 2 निशान, 2 विधान, 2 प्रधान नहीं चलेंगे का नारा दिया।
Earlier in the day, the Union Home Minister Amit Shah inaugurated the campus of the Indian Institute of Technology, Jammu. The minister is on a 3-day visit to the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. He planted a sapling first in the campus of the institute. The Home Minister reviewed various development projects. The Lieutenant Governor of Jammu and Kashmir, Manoj Sinha, said that it's the first time after independence of India that 8,000 people in the Union Territory have collectively been provided employment on the basis of their eligibility.
जम्मू कश्मीर जिस रास्ते पर आगे बढ़ा है, मुझे लगता है कि आप सब उससे परिचित हैं। एक समय था यहाँ जब गुरखा समुदाय के लोग सरकारी नौकरी, उच्च शिक्षा से वंचित थे। वाल्मीकि समाज के लोग पढ़ाई लिखाई से और अच्छी नौकरियों से वंचित थे। यहाँ की बहनों को अधिकार नहीं मिल रहा था, लेकिन ये सब आज मैं समझता हूँ कि हकीकत में बदलता हुआ आप देख रहे हैं। अभी जिन योजनाओं का, जिन कार्यक्रमों का शिलान्यास और उद्घाटन आदरणीय गृह मंत्री जी ने किया है, मैं कहना चाहता हूं कि शायद आजादी के बाद पहली बार जम्मू कश्मीर में 8,000 लोगों को पारदर्शी तरीके से योग्यता के आधार पर नौकरी दी गई है।
Addressing the gathering, the Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan said that the Jammu and Kashmir administration has spent over 1,100 crore rupees on the construction of the campus of IIT Jammu.
2014 की बजट के भाषण में देश के प्रधानमंत्री जी ने जम्मू में आईआईटी की स्थापना के निर्देश दिया था। आज सौभाग्य है, वो शुभ दिन है। जम्मू कश्मीर शासन ने 400 एकड़ जमीन दिया, 1100 करोड़ रुपया खर्चा करके एक अत्याधुनिक 21वीं सदी की नई शिक्षा मंदिर आज श्री अमित शाह जी की कर कमल पे जम्मू कश्मीर के आवाम के लिए, देश के नौजवानों के लिए आज लोकार्पित किया गया।
The Chief of Air Staff, Air Chief Marshal V.R. Chaudhary, emphasized on national interest that can only be served by an all-of-nation approach in view of changing the geostrategic outlook that needs to be redefined and refined accordingly. So he was speaking at a two-day conclave which was organized by the Indian Air Force on Swarnim Vijay Varsh at the Bangalore Yelahanka Air Force Station today.
National interests can only be served by an all-of-nation approach, and an interesting perspective on the diplomatic contribution brought out that it is a very powerful instrument of statecraft. From a bipolar to a unipolar to a multipolar world, there cannot be a one-size-fits-all solution, and our geostrategic outlook needs to be refined accordingly. Our vibrant diversity as a nation gives us an inherent flexibility, and we must leverage this in making connections across the region. While recognizing that our national policy on geopolitical alignment has stood us in good stead, there is no doubt that it cannot become dogma and must be re-examined and re-evaluated with the changing environment.
And the Chief of Air Staff, Air Chief Marshal V.R. Chaudhary, spoke exclusively to DD India's Bangalore correspondent Aisha Khanum on Indian Air Force's future roadmap and strategy. Here's an exclusive conversation on the sidelines of the two-day IAF conclave.
Certainly, Vijay Varsh celebrations at Bangalore Yelahanka Air Force Station has ended with fruitful discussions more about this conclave and the focus and what we have achieved during this conclave. I have with me Air Chief, Air Marshal V.R. Chaudhary. So very interesting. This conclave was first of its kind, like many of the officers told us. So what have we achieved in this? We traced the 1971 war and its implications. So what was the final outcome? What was the fruitful discussion that we saw here?
I think one of the most important lessons is for us to understand from history the importance of having the comprehensive national power come together to be able to meet any future challenges. So what was amply exemplified by the examples quoted during 71 war, how the politico-military establishment came together to be able to fight the war successfully. So that is what we are looking at in the future also now, synergizing the national power, whether it is military power, diplomatic power, all powers that need to be synchronized to be able to take on the challenges of the future.
In the present circumstances, if you will look look into the geopolitical issues, how much challenges are still there for the Eastern Command and for the tri-services that can be taken up?
No, I do not like to say that there are challenges only for Eastern Command. It's a national challenge, and like I said, the sum total of the national power will come together to meet any future challenges.
So there was a lot of discussion on China as a challenge, as such. You also visited Leh recently, and also owing to the situation in Afghanistan, there are still tensions across. So how, what is the readiness or what is the preparedness that the forces have here in India?
I think I have articulated this in the past also, that our focus remains based on our threats and what are our capabilities, and we are well aware of what threats that we face today. So our capability build up in terms of new acquisitions, in terms of training, in terms of development of tactics is an ongoing process.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That was Air Chief V.R. Chaudhary discussing about the IAF conclave here in Bangalore, and also talking about the fact that this conclave has brought in lot of fruitful discussions with regard to the challenges that India has, and also the armed forces readiness to defend the country in any given situation. With cameraman Govind, Aisha Khanum, DD News, Bangalore.
Let's now take a look at the COVID-19 situation from across the country. The update is that the recovery of 16,479 patients in the last 24 hours has increased the cumulative tally of recovered patients to 3,35,48,605. Consequently, India's recovery rate stands at 98.17%. The recovery rate is currently at its highest, that's its peak, since March of 2020. So, sustained and collaborative efforts by the centre as well as the states and union territories. This continues to give us this trend of less than 50,000 daily new cases, and it's being reported now for 119 consecutive days. 15,906 new cases were reported in the last 24 hours. Active cases account for less than 1% of the total cases, and these presently constitute 0.51% of the total positive cases, and this is the lowest since March of 2020. The active caseload remains below the 2 lakh mark. It's at 1,72,594. It's the lowest in 235 days. Testing capacity across the country is increasing, and in the last 24 hours, in fact, we've had 13,40,158 tests being conducted. India has so far conducted over 59.97 crore cumulative tests, and the testing capacity has been enhanced across the country. The weekly positivity rate is at 1.23%. It remains less than 2% for the last 30 days. The daily positivity rate is at 1.19%. The daily positivity rate too is below 2% for the last 20 days. With the administration of 77,40,676 vaccine doses in the last 24 hours, India's COVID-19 vaccination coverage has crossed the 102 crore mark, and it's 102.10 crores. So in the last 24 hours, 31,92,821 people were vaccinated, and 45,47,855 were given their second dose. So that first number I gave you was for the first dose. And also the Health Ministry has said that the vaccination exercise as a tool to protect the most vulnerable population groups in the country from COVID-19, it continues to be regularly reviewed and monitored at the highest level. In Kerala, temples reopen across the state, and devotees, however, are resorting to staying at home in a bid to avoid the spread of COVID-19 pandemic. So some of the ancient temples in the state have been witnessing a decline in devotee inflow, resulting in a crunch of donations for various developmental works and charity works that they contribute to in the temple premises. These ancient temples in Kerala include the Kottayam Vedagiri, and facing some sort of an existential crisis. The Indo-Tibetan Border Police is celebrating its 60th Raising Day today, and the Minister of State for Home Affairs, Nityanand Rai, he took the salute at the ITBP parade. The force was raised in the aftermath of the 1962 Chinese aggression. Prime Minister Narendra Modi tweeted, "From dense forests in Arunachal Pradesh to the icy heights of the Himalayas, our ITBP Himveers have answered the nation's call with utmost dedication. Their humanitarian work during times of disasters is noteworthy. Greetings to all ITBP personnel on their Raising Day." Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has extended greetings and warm wishes to all ITBP personnel and their families on their Raising Day for this courageous force. He also tweeted, and Rajnath Singh has lauded the ITBP's dedicated efforts, dedication towards keeping India safe. He further said that the indomitable spirit and professionalism of this force is deeply appreciated and admired. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has paid tributes to the cartoonist R.K. Lakshman on his 100th birth anniversary. In a tweet, the Prime Minister said, on his 100th birth anniversary, remembering the versatile R.K. Lakshman, through his cartoons, he beautifully conveyed the socio-political realities of the times. You're watching News Connect. We're going to take a short break. Stay with us.
As the day unfolds and news and events take shape, we get you complete coverage of every news breaking in, tracking new developments as they happen. Midday Prime English, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. on DD India.
Welcome back. Indian and U.S. troops carried out joint yoga session at Buckner Physical Training Center at the Joint Base El Mendorf, Richardson. This is in Anchorage in Alaska in the United States. So the Indian yoga instructors, they taught about 17 asanas. These include the Surya Namaskar to the troops of the United States. A senior U.S. diplomat has urged North Korea to refrain from additional missile tests and resume nuclear diplomacy days after the North fired off its first underwater launched ballistic missile in 2 years. Sung Kim, who is the U.S. envoy on North Korea, spoke after meeting with South Korean officials to discuss North Korea's recent missile tests, while the nuclear negotiations between Washington and Pyongyang remain stalled. Last Tuesday, North Korea fired a newly developed ballistic missile from a submarine in its fifth round of weapons tests in recent weeks. South Korean officials said the submarine-fired missile, it appears to be in an early stage of development. That marked the North's first underwater launched test since October 2019, and the most high-profile one, in fact, since the U.S. President Joe Biden took office in January. So missiles fired from submarines are harder, in fact, to detect in advance, and they would provide North Korea with a secondary retaliatory attack capability. Tuesday's launch violates multiple United Nations Security Council resolutions that ban any activity by North Korea in the area of ballistic missiles. Kim said that the test poses a threat to international community and is concerning and counterproductive to the efforts of peace on the Korean Peninsula. The country New Zealand, its Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern has said that the country's strict coronavirus lockdown measures would only end when 90% of its eligible population have been fully vaccinated. So New Zealand enforced the tightest pandemic restrictions among OECD countries, and the pressure is mounting now on Ardern to ease some of the curbs as relatively small but persistent numbers of cases continue to plague Auckland, the biggest city.
You'll know that we have been resistant to setting a target. We didn't want to leave anyone behind, and we still don't. But we need to give everyone, and especially Aucklanders, certainty over when it will be safe enough to transition to a new system, one where we can give more freedoms to those who are vaccinated. We've looked at all of the evidence, talked to experts, looked at modelling for our situation, and set a target of 90% fully vaccinated for each DHB in New Zealand.
In France, political parties have kicked off campaigning in full swing for the presidential election due in April next year. The Socialist Party vows to strengthen efforts against climate change, block nationalism, and launch a social reconquest. The longtime Paris mayor Anne Hidalgo, who addressed the rally yesterday, pledged to improve school systems, to establish a climate tax on the wealthy, to promote income equality among men and women, and also to lower the legal age to vote in the elections to 16. The main two political parties in France are the Republicans, led by Emmanuel Macron, and the National Rally, which is led by Marine Le Pen. Let's take a look at it's an update from Spain now on the volcanic eruption there. This is the La Palma, the eruption at that volcano. The Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez said that his government would speed up aid to the hard-hit agriculture and fishing industries in the island of La Palma, where the Cumbre Vieja volcano cone collapsed and red-hot lava continued to flow more than a month after the eruption began. Lava has covered almost 900 hectares of land. It's destroyed over 2,000 buildings and banana plantations since the eruption started on September 19th. More than 7,000 people have had to leave their homes. A massive plume of ash and steam rose into the air on Saturday on Italy's Mount Etna. It's erupted, obscuring the morning sky. The new volcanic activity in Mount Etna caused havoc for holidaymakers as airlines were forced to cancel their flights, and that has delayed, and also to delay several more flights. So 3,300 meter high volcano, it can cause spectacular views several times a year, spewing lava and ash high over the Mediterranean island of Sicily. But the last major eruption, in fact, had occurred in 1992, but it causes significant problems for airliners. A container ship, the Zim Kingston in the British Columbia, caught fire on Saturday. The Canadian Coast Guard said that it is monitoring the fire that broke out on the container ship off the coast of Victoria and is working with the US Coast Guard to assess the situation. According to media reports, 10 crew members have been evacuated and 11 members remained on board. 6 containers are ablaze in total. The Canadian Coast Guard said that a joint agency response is being coordinated to provide assistance. US Envoy for the Horn of Africa, Jeffrey Feltman, has underlined Washington's support for a democratic transition to civilian rule in Sudan. The discussion regarding this, these discussions were held yesterday during these talks with the head of the Sudanese ruling council and the Prime Minister. So during the talks, Jeffrey Feltman urged all the sides to recommit to working together to implement Sudan's constitutional declaration, which was signed after 2018 and 2019, after that uprising that resulted in the removal of President Omar al-Bashir. Tensions between the civilian and military leaders who now share power, these tensions have soared in the wake of the attempted military coup in September, which the army has foiled. They said so, but an economic crisis now has deepened, and a coalition of rebel groups and political parties, they have aligned themselves with the military, seeking to dissolve the cabinet. So in response, hundreds of thousands of demonstrations are taking place, and people are taking part in these demonstrations in several parts of Khartoum and other cities. Let's take a look at an update now on COVID-19 from across the world. 24 crore 41 lakh people have contracted the virus, over that number, and the recoveries stand at above 22 crore 11 lakh. The virus has claimed the lives of 49 lakh 59,000 worldwide. In the US, cases are the highest number in the world as of date, and they continue to be so. And these numbers are, they've crossed 4 crore 62 lakh, and the death toll there is above 7 lakh 56,000. In the UK, Britons in northwestern England, they were keen to get COVID-19 jabs on Saturday. This is because new infections and deaths have risen in that country, across the country, and doctors have said that most cases are of young and unvaccinated people. So government figures show that 44,985 new coronavirus cases were reported on Saturday, down from 49,298 on Friday. But the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson says that a new COVID-19 lockdown is not on the cards, as advisors have warned that acting early with lighter measures to cut rising case numbers, this would reduce the need for tougher restrictions later. Johnson's government has said that there is no need to introduce a plan B involving those mandates to wear masks, work from home orders, vaccine passports and the like. Though such measures could be introduced if more and more people do not come forward to get themselves vaccinated, also to get booster shots. That's the stage that they are in UK. But Germany has recorded the highest incidence of coronavirus infections since mid-May on Saturday, reaching the threshold of 100 cases per 100,000 in the past 7 days. That used to be the measure for imposing a strict lockdown. The health minister there, Jens Spahn, noted that Germany could cope much better because of the vaccinations. He said that restrictions like mask wearing and limits on indoor activity for unvaccinated people would continue. They will remain till spring, and 7-day incidence rate of cases has risen to 100. This happened on Saturday from 95 on Friday. A total of 15,145 new infections were reported on Saturday, 4,196 more than the previous day, than the same day last Saturday, that is, and another 86 people have died. So that total number of people who've died in Germany is 95,077, and the rise comes as the leaders of Germany's 16 states are discussing how to proceed after a nationwide state of emergency is set to lapse on November 25, meaning that restrictions will automatically expire by then, unless, of course, they are extended by their system is a parliamentary vote. Russia has reported 1,075 COVID cases on Saturday. This is the 5th straight high number that they've had, as the authorities are preparing to shut workplaces across the country, huge country that it is, and lockdown in the capital. A record 37,678 new cases were also reported, despite developing one of the world's first vaccines against COVID-19. Russia has vaccinated only about a third of its population, one of the lowest rates in Europe. The head of Moscow's Regional Paramedics Union has said that more children are getting sick, including one case of an 8-month-old child, which was taken to the hospital. Now, the President, Vladimir Putin of Russia, this week had approved a nationwide workplace shutdown in the first week of November, and the capital, Moscow, will reimpose a partial lockdown starting from the 20th of October, and there will be only essential shops like pharmacies and supermarkets which will remain open. Sports news now. The ICC T20 World Cup will be set alight today because the arch rivals India and Pakistan are playing in a big ticket match. So India is all set to play against Pakistan. This is the first Super 12 clash that India will be playing in the T20 World Cup in Dubai. India has never lost a match to Pakistan in any form of the World Cups, whether it's T20 or in the regular World Cup, 50-over World Cup. And this time it would be a more special affair because Virat Kohli is captaining India by his decision as the last time in the T20. This World Cup is going to be his last time as captain. So Captain Virat Kohli said that Pakistan is a strong team, and Team India is also all set to give 100% in this match.
The wait for ICC Cricket T20 World Cup has finally ended, and Super 12 teams are all set to battle it out for the coveted trophy. With the onset of T20 Cricket World Cup, which is already delayed by a year due to the COVID-19 pandemic, fans are now waiting with bated breath to witness the biggest clash of T20 World Cup between arch rivals India and Pakistan, that is scheduled to take place on 24th of October in Dubai. India's team composition looks strong, whereas if you look at the previous records, then Pakistan has never been able to beat India at T20 World Cups. India and Pakistan have clashed 5 times in the T20 World Cup so far, and India has always maintained its winning streak. If we talk about the overall matches, then also India is ahead of the neighbouring country. In total 8 matches played, Pakistan won the only match while India won 7 matches. However, if we talk about the T20 World Cup this time, then also not only this match against Team Pakistan, but for Virat Kohli, all the matches are equally important, as this would be his last innings as T20 captain at the T20 Cricket World Cup. Ahead of India's match against Pakistan, Virat Kohli exuberated confidence on his teammates in the pre-match press conference.
Hardik presently, with his physical condition, is getting better in terms of being prepared to bowl at least 2 overs for us. What he brings at that number 6 spot is something that you just can't create overnight. And hence, I was always in favor of backing him in Australia as a batter purely, and we saw what he did in the T20 series and how he can take the game away from the opposition when he's in full flow. For us, that is way more valuable than forcing him to do something that he's not ready for at the moment. But he's motivated and he's very keen to start giving us a couple of overs, and when that happens, obviously the balance becomes even better. But we are pretty confident how we are heading into the start of this tournament.
While speaking on its match against Team Pakistan, Captain Virat Kohli said that Pakistan is a strong team and Team India is all set to give their 100% in the match against them.
पाकिस्तान टीम मेरे हिसाब से काफी स्ट्रॉन्ग टीम है और हमेशा स्ट्रॉन्ग टीम रही है, और उनके अगेंस्ट आपको हमेशा अपनी बेस्ट क्रिकेट खेलनी पड़ती है, क्योंकि उनके पास बहुत टैलेंट है और ऐसे प्लेयर्स हैं जो गेम को चेंज कर सकते हैं कभी भी, और ऐसी टीमों के अगेंस्ट आपको अपना बेस्ट प्लान लेके आना पड़ता है सामने और मेक श्योर करना है कि एग्जीक्यूशन हमारी अच्छी हो और हम कंसिस्टेंटली जितना खेलेंगे उतना हम प्रेशर बना पाएंगे ऑपोजिशन पे, तो हमें डेफिनेटली अपनी गेम लेके आना।
One of the biggest tournament of cricket, the T20 Cricket World Cup, would be even more challenging this time for the players, as they would have to remain in the bio bubble, which may affect them mentally, but on the field they have to remain in form and perform to their best of level. And for Team India, it's more challenging for Captain Virat Kohli, as he would vouch to win all the matches under his captaincy in T20 format. Sports Desk, DD India.
Well, both the teams are in their best form and they're all set to take the T20 world by storm. But let's take a look at some T20 cricket trivia in our special edition, India versus Pakistan Super Sunday. So in the previous T20 encounters versus Pakistan, Captain Virat Kohli has never been dismissed by Pakistan and he remains unbeaten. So that's an important little bit of information. Also, Kohli will surely he's going to be one of the difficult areas for the Pakistani team. Narayan joins us with a little more on India-Pakistan and, putting it into perspective. Narayan, it goes back to the first T20 final, the World Cup between India and Pakistan in 2007, and India wins, and that was how, we became the first world champions. So we always remember that moment, and every time India and Pakistan play. But of course, Pakistan won the T20 World Cup the following time after that. So both India and Pakistan have won the World Cup. So they are both World Cup winners in a sense. How would you look at, this contest from the point of view purely not from the emotional aspects, but purely in cricketing terms, how the teams balanced?
If we talk about this match, definitely, if we talk about the India-Pakistan, in terms of rivalry, it's like a mother of all battles. Not only in India, everywhere around the cricket fans are watching this match. But if you talk about the lineup of both the teams, the top order of both the teams is very in good form. If we talk about India, we have the world's three best batsmen right now. Virat Kohli is there, Rohit Sharma and KL Rahul. And if we talk about their performance in T20, since 2016 T20 World Cup, each of them has scored more than 1,500 runs and are among the top run getters since 2016 T20 World Cup. If you talk about Pakistan, Babar Azam is at the top of the list. He scored more than 2,000 runs as an opener for Pakistan since 2016 World Cup. So all in all, a battle is the matchups are quite balanced for both the teams. But down the order for India, we have the firepower for Hardik Pandya, Rishabh Pant is there. If you talk about other batsmen, we have also Ishan Kishan. But right now, the conditions, the things are looking like he can't fit in the mix because already we have other players in the top order. We have already Rohit Sharma is there, KL Rahul is there, but the firepower down the order is great. If you talk about Pakistan, at the top they have Babar Azam, then Mohammad Rizwan is there. If we talk about his figures in 2021 in T20 cricket are exceptional, but down the order they have lacking that firepower. Who will towards the death overs, towards the crunch situation, who will hit those big hits for them? Because in the middle order they have the experience of Shoaib Malik and Hafiz is also there, but because Pakistan has already announced they are playing 12 squad, in that case they have to choose from Mohammad Hafiz and Haider Ali. So it will be it remains to be seen whether they will play Haider Ali or the Mohammad Hafiz. But all in all, it's all about the ball. If you talk about the bowling, definitely India and Pakistan both they have a good pace attack. If you talk about Pakistan, for what they are known, they have the Haider Ali, the rise of Haider Ali we have seen in the recent times, and apart from the Shaheen Afridi is there. So a good pace battery both the sides have. If you talk about India, Jasprit Bumrah, one of the top bowler in the world right now, and it remains to be seen whether India will go for Bhuvneshwar Kumar or Shardul Thakur, or they will stick to Bhuvneshwar Kumar.
But Narayan, looking purely at the two teams playing each other, they don't play each other at all, and we know that. So their interaction between the players is very limited at the most. I mean, they don't participate in our league, we don't participate in their leagues. So there is no question of of understanding the quality of their players. The rest of the countries of the world actually know a little bit about the Pakistani players. How much, is this the surprise element? Can it work to India's advantage, or how much does it work to the Pakistani advantage?
Definitely it's a factor, but nowadays the technology is so high. Players, all the recordings of all the players are available with both the teams. So from there they can access how can they work on the strategy for a single player. And so if we talk about right now the Indian cricketers and the Pakistan cricketers, we have they are only playing the limited cricket as you have said. But with the advanced technology, they can work out on the other teams players. And if we talk about the other players in their squad, if basically they are the mystery element. If India has the Varun Chakravarti, so it is not exposed to the world. If he has played in IPL, but that is limited way. But in Pakistan squad also there are few players which are new, which are more which have been not exposed to the world cricket. But it doesn't matter too much because they are professional players and they know because as the match goes,
I think we're running short of time, so I'm told just one last question. So let's talk about the pitch and what are the kind of runs that are likely to at this stadium. And because the last few matches have had very low, they've been low scoring affairs. So I mean T20 is usually associated with big hitting, not this kind of situation where the bowlers are dominating.
Definitely, pitch will be it may play a crucial role, because yesterday we have seen how the West Indies team was bundled out of 55 runs, and the other match was also quite low scoring. So it depends on how which they are, because there are different pitches. Outer pitches are there, the centric pitches are there. For which pitch they are going on, it also matter. If they are going for the pitches which on which IPL was played, then it may be little slower. If they are using a flush pitches which are in the middle, which has a little bit more grass. But thing is that if you have the quality, if you have the quality spin, if you have the quality express pace, then it can neutralize. If you have the good, yesterday you have seen Adil Rashid took 4 wickets in 2 overs. But apart from that, there was also assistant for the pace bowler. When it comes to quality, these factor takes backseat.
We leave it there. Thank you very much, Narayan, for those inputs, and looking forward to the match. Now let's move on to our next story. When Diwali is approaching, the biggest pride of the women of Rajkot is to do those rangolis in their courtyard, and the Rajkot Art Gallery has as many as 77 artists, women artists of Rajkot, who showed their skills, and they prepared more than 125 rangolis. This is on different subjects, including India's gold medalist in the Olympics, Neeraj Chopra, also Bollywood personalities like Amitabh Bachchan, and all of them, they've paid tribute to health workers. Let's take a look now. This, in fact, in the art gallery of Rajkot, more than 77, as we said, artists conducted an exhibition. This is ahead of Diwali. Truly beautiful. And with that, we conclude News Connect for today. Thank you very much for being with us. Namaskar.